What is going on, guys? My name is Drakesy and welcome back to another episode of daily transfers, rumours and all that other gossip in football. So first of all, as I usually do in these episodes, I'm going to run through done deals. So there might be a few deals here that you've known about for quite a while, some deals that came out maybe last week or a few weeks before that you do already know. But because this is a relatively new series on my channel, I've stuck in some maybe old ones that you already know. So that explains that. And after the video, there will be a link to the first episode. There is another episode of transfers that I have run through, so if you want to go and check that out, then feel welcome and more than happy to subscribe to the channel for much more of this content coming in the near future. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So the first transfer that I'm going to be covering is a done deal, and that is Eder through to the French team Lille. Now Eder was at Swansea, I do believe, before this, and he's actually transferred for around 3.4 million to this new team, and fingers crossed he plays well over there. Moving on to the next deal is going to be Havard Nordved. I don't know if that's the right way of saying the name. I don't speak that language. I do believe that's Norway, that flag. I might be wrong, but I do believe that's Norway or Denmark. I think it's Norway if I'm right. But anyway, getting on to the actual transfer, this is another done deal that has been pushed through by West Ham, and hopefully maybe he'll do good in the Premier League, but I don't know that much about this player myself, but I do know that he has officially joined West Ham. Moving on to the next one is Eric Bertrand Bailey. Now many of you will know this one. I believe it came out like earlier last week, around like Tuesday or Monday time, and that is that Manchester United have signed the now ex Villarreal centre-back Eric Bertrand Bailey. So if you do know who this guy is, I kind of followed up on him when I heard that the transfer had gone through, and he seems like a pretty decent, strong, muscly and typical Jose Mourinho centre-back, so fingers crossed he can play well for us, similar to the fact of maybe Kurt Zouma in the Premier League. So if that makes any sense to you, that's what he seems to be like to me. Moving on to the next one is going to be Granit Xhaka. Granit Xhaka was in the Euros the other day playing against his brother, who actually plays for Albania, if you didn't know, but he plays for Switzerland, and he seems like a pretty all-rounded, adapted midfielder. He can play defensive midfield, in the central of midfield, like in the centre of the pitch as normal, and he also can play like in a more attacking role. Apparently he seems like an all-round pretty solid player overall, and as you may know, Arsenal have signed him up to becoming an Arsenal player, so he will be joining Arsenal next season. Moving on to the next transfer, it's going to be a free transfer, I do believe, and this is for Marvin Matip. And if you don't know, I think, is this Marvin Matip? I do believe that, I'm sure he used to be called Joe Matip. I'm sure he's changed his name, but anyway, this guy is now transferred through, and he's got a team of the season card, and I can't remember which team this was for in the Bundesliga, but he is now transferred through and will be joining Liverpool next season, so a pretty good signing by Jurgen Klopp. But moving on to the next player, it's going to be another German League player, and that is somebody else signed by Liverpool, and that's going to be Loris Karius, German goalkeeper for, I do believe it was Hoffenheim, I could be wrong, but also now joined Liverpool next season, so he could become their first team goalkeeper, as he did have a good season last year and Mignolet was a bit inconsistent at times. Moving on to the next one is going to be the 21 or 23 million transfer, 23 million pound transfer, I do believe, which is relatively cheap for such a player, but it's Ilkay Gundogan, and he has signed officially for Manchester City from Borussia Dortmund for around 21 million, I do believe. This is officially Pep Guardiola's first signing, if I am correct, and is a very, very similar signing to what you expect Pep Guardiola to sign. A lot of people are comparing him to Thiago, the Spanish centre midfielder that Pep Guardiola did sign for Bayern Munich back when he first joined, and he is very similar in that fact. The only thing that makes him different is that he is very, very injury prone, but we'll just have to see how he gets on in the Premier League. Moving on to the next one is going to be Ron Robert Zelda. Is that Zelda? I'm not too sure how you would say that name, but this guy is has officially joined Leicester City, and I do believe he was from Hamburg or Hanover, I think it was Hanover, in the Bundesliga as well, and he has now officially joined Leicester on a brand new deal, obviously, and he's now will be joining Claudio Ranieri and hopefully continuing the form of last year, winning the Premier League. Maybe not that good, but you know, hopefully doing consistently as well next season. But this transfer also does link into the next one, and that is going to be Kasper Schmeichel officially. Right, well, these are the deals that are potential deals. Sorry, now I should have explained that. So all the ones that have been done just then up to this point are all deals that have gone through. Now these deals are potential deals that will possibly be going through. So this first one is going to be Kasper Schmeichel through to Everton. Now it turns out that the possible new manager of Everton, Ronald Koeman, is a massive fan of Kasper Schmeichel and does want to see him at Everton very soon in the near future, and apparently is willing to offer around 21 million for the keeper. Whether that's true or not, that's what the papers are saying. So it seems like Kasper Schmeichel could be potentially moving to Everton next season, being officially, I believe, Ronald Koeman's first signing. Well, obviously first signing, because he's not even announced as the manager yet. Moving on to the next signing is going to be Romelu Lukaku, a possibility of joining Juventus. Now this one does seem a little bit crazy when you say it, but this one I do believe could potentially and possibly go through, but we will just have to see, because the striker is wanting Champions League football and he hasn't managed to get that at Everton. I think Everton have actually missed out on Europa League football as well, and I believe he netted around 21 or 22 goals last year, Romelu Lukaku. A fantastic young striker, and it'll be a pleasure to see how he does in the Euros coming up, and you know, his game's coming up for Belgium very soon as well. So we'll just have to see how he does out there in Europe, but it will be no surprise if he does very well that a big team like Juventus will be tracking him and wanting to get him to a bigger team. So we'll just have to see if that does come through. Moving on to the next signing after him is a smaller signing than the last one, but it's going to be Saido Berahino potentially joining Watford. Now there was a lot of unsettlement with Saido Berahino at West Brom that came out mid last year, and you know, Tony Pulis was very open about the disputes that they had between the player and the club, and actually Berahino came out and said that he will never play under the manager or play for West Brom again. Obviously that didn't turn out, and he did, but there's obviously some unrest at the club, and Watford potentially want to sign him, and he could be part of that striking force with Troy Deeney and Odion Ighalo up top as well. Moving on to the next signing, potential signing, is Victor Wanyama. Now, a possibility this one might happen with the departure of Ronald Koeman, and then potentially a new manager coming in and wanting to build his own squad, and that's going to be Victor Wanyama moving to Spurs. Now, Spurs and Pochettino are apparently willing to bid around 11 to 12 million for the centre midfielder, and he's very consistent, very strong, very well-rounded Premier League centre defensive mid. He's very strong, quite tall as well, and he does all the jobs that you need him to do in the centre of the pitch, so that's a possibility of happening as well. Moving on to the next one is going to be one of two Crystal Palace potential signings. Now, Crystal Palace have actually released Shamak and Adebayor from their contracts, and are now looking for two potential replacement strikers. Those two strikers that they're apparently looking at are Cedric what is this? This is Bakambu, I think that's right. It's Cedric Bakambu, and then the next signing will potentially be Bambakar. Now you're going to have Bambaku, and then Bambakar. I don't know if I'm saying those names right, but those could be your potential new striking force for Crystal Palace. So these two have apparently been rumoured to potentially come into the Premier League and playing for Crystal Palace. Very odd signings from Alan Pardew if these two do go through, but we'll just have to see how they do and if they come through. I don't know that much about the two signings. I've seen this guy on FIFA as well when he got his man of the match, and he did have an inform before this, but I believe Cedric plays for, I believe it is Villarreal as well, just like Eric Bertrand Bailey, and I do believe that this guy does play for, I believe it's a Portuguese team, but I could be wrong, but I'm not too sure where he will be coming from. But Babacar is potentially coming as well. So moving on to the next signing from there, it's going to be Ricardo Rodriguez. So apparently Wolfsburg have tried offering a new contract for Ricardo Rodriguez, and he has rejected it in favour of going to a different team. He says he's not happy. Now this unrest and this basically unhappiness has sparked the interest of Arsenal, and Arsenal potentially do want to sign the left back and get him to the Emirates as if they can. They will be offering quite a bit more, seeing as though this TV deal has come through, through, they could possibly offer a bigger contract than Wolfsburg ever could. But maybe this is just transfer talk, and Ricardo Rodriguez and his agent just want a bigger wage, a bigger paycheck. So maybe they're just doing it for a bit of unsettlement and just to get a bigger paycheck. We'll just have to see how this one goes through. Moving on to the next one, it's going to be another crazy Arsenal signing, and that is the potential signing of Edinson Cavani. Now, apparently, Arsene Wenger and a few scouts have been scouting Edinson Cavani since, I believe it was the article I read, I think, stated that they've been scouting him since his Napoli days, which is a few years ago now. I think that's 3 years ago. But he's changed since then. He was always second man to Ibra at PSG, but potentially he's never been that full striking, that top striker at PSG. So whether this deal will go through, whether there's any truth in it, seeing as though there has been the departure of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, whether they would want to get rid of Edinson Cavani as well, that is PSG. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not, but I'm guessing if Arsenal can offer the right money, then potentially Edinson Cavani could be coming through as well. And I do believe this was the backup striker option. If the Jamie Vardy deal does not go through, Arsenal will look to Cavani, which is, to be honest, quite an upgrade from Jamie Vardy, seeing as though Jamie Vardy is about 29, I do believe, but then again, he is a proven goal scorer in the Premier League. Moving on to the next one, we've got Manuel Agordo Duran, or we should just call him Nolito. Now, Nolito has had a pretty good season as far as I'm aware in the La Liga. He's been consistent for the team that he plays for, which I believe is Celta Vigo. And I think he's been playing for Spain as well, and been quite a key player in Spain's qualification for the Euros, as well as Aduriz, another Spanish player. And the kind of unknown players that have just basically shot through and come out of nowhere. So I have been keeping an eye on Nolito for quite a while. He's basically rose to fame this last year and has been quite a key player for Celta Vigo and Spain. So he's brought through into that Spanish team, and that has obviously triggered the interest of West Ham. So potentially this deal could be going through to West Ham as well. And to be honest, he seems like a pretty good signing from what I've seen. But then again, would he adapt well to the Premier League? We'd just have to see. Moving on to the next deal is going to be another dual deal, if that makes any sense. That's going to be Toni Kroos and Paul Pogba. Now, these two players could be potentially swapping teams, and that is due to the fact that Real Madrid have been massively wanting to sign Paul Pogba for ages and ages. And apparently, the article that I read said that they were willing to offer money and the player Toni Kroos to Juventus for the potential signing of Paul Pogba. Now, this one is basically, a like-for-like midfielder. Toni Kroos is they're not exactly similar, but swapping a midfielder for a midfielder does mean that Juventus wouldn't have to go find another world-class midfielder to replace Paul Pogba. And if they do get the right amount of money on top of the deal as well, this one could be potentially going through as well. And I do know that I think Toni Kroos has been out of favour at Real Madrid since the overtake of not Zlatan. I want to say Zlatan, but I mean I can't remember his name. Zizou, of course. So since Zizou has took over, he has been out of favour as far as I'm aware, and could potentially go through in this deal. Two very good centre midfielders who could be potentially going through. But if Paul Pogba does actually go to Real Madrid, that team will be incredible stuff. Moving on to the next signing after that, it's going to be one of quite a few Man City signings coming up, and that's going to be the potential signing of Aymeric Laporte. The article that I read did state that Aymeric Laporte is actually potentially going through to Man City. The deal will be wrapped up and possibly stated and claimed by the end of the week, that is. Now, this could be potentially Pep Guardiola's second signing just after Ilkay Gundogan, and as you can see, this could be a fantastic signing for them once again. He is out injured at the moment and isn't with France at the Euros, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he is a very consistent and good young upcoming centre-back in the world, let's just say. So Aymeric Laporte could become a new Manchester City signing, and apparently, according to the article, that will be announced by the end of the week. We'll just have to see. The second signing is another centre-back, and that's apparently Jerome Boateng. Now, the article that I read on this did say that Pep Guardiola is a massive admirer of Jerome Boateng, his leadership qualities, and overall just characteristics and how he plays and stuff. Apparently Pep Guardiola is a massive fan of the player and does want to hopefully potentially bring him over with him to England from Bayern Munich when he does eventually come over in the near future. So Jerome Boateng could be coming, but I do see this one unlikely. But then again, it could potentially happen. I'm not too sure. We'll just have to see once again. But will Bayern Munich let up one of their key defensive players? They have just got a Mats Hummels, but will this actually go through? We'll just have to see. And then the next one after that is another Man City signing, and you will know about this one, that's been around for quite a while, and that is the signing of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Now, this does seem like a deal has actually gone forward of around, I think it was 65 million, which does make Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, if the deal goes through, the English transfer record highest signing ever to have been recorded. So that one will become the new highest priced signing in English history if this one does go through. So a deal has definitely been placed down, and I just don't know if Dortmund will let another world-class player go after, I think, about a season of being at the club. It seems unlikely, but we will just have to see once again. And then the last signing of this one is going to be N'Golo Kante. Now, N'Golo Kante, obviously everybody has known the name. He's one of those players that has basically risen to fame in that Leicester team this season, and now every single team seems to be after him. That's from Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham, United, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. It seems like every single team wants him, and obviously Leicester City don't want to see such a key player in their team go. So apparently they are willing to offer Kante £100,000 a week to keep him at the club, which is an incredible amount of money for such a small club and basically just growth in 1 year to be offering a player. So they obviously do want to keep such a key player to the team, and Leicester aren't a small team as such, but what I mean is they've risen to fame, so it's not like it's been consistent money for years upon years like Man City, like United. So we'll just have to see if they can offer him and keep hold of him. Fingers crossed they can, because it's a great story if they do. So yeah, that has been my wrap up of all-round world transfers. Now, if you do have any more deals, done deals, any potential transfers or rumours that you have heard in the world of football, then be sure to get it down in the comment section below. And sorry if I have sounded a bit tired this episode. I have just recorded this and I'm absolutely shattered. So thank you very much for watching this. If you have enjoyed it, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, whatever you can do to support the channel. And I'll see you again tomorrow, guys. See you in a bit.